In the United States, 65% of adults drink at least somewhat regularly. Adults who drink consume about 3.6 drinks per week, with the highest tier, almost 15% of the population, consuming over 15 drinks a week. I personally love a good drink on occasion, but in recent years, an anti-alcohol movement has been taking shape across the country, promoting the benefits that sobriety can have and the negatives of alcohol, and more evidence to support sobriety has emerged. A 2020 study by Bernberg Research reported that Gen Z is drinking 20% less per capita than millennials did at the same age. Younger generations are prioritizing health, wellness, and opting for alcohol-free alternatives or drinking in moderation. The Sober Curious movement, which gained momentum in the late 2010s and spiked post-2020, encourages people to explore a lifestyle without alcohol. Books like Ruby Warrington's Sober Curious and social media communities have popularized the idea that reducing or eliminating alcohol can enhance health and productivity. Obviously, sobriety has its benefits. No more hangovers, a bit more money in the pocket, but many people in recent years have been bringing to our attention that alcohol has a whole lot more negative effects than we ever thought. These include neuroscientists like Andrew Huberman, who studies the brain impact that alcohol can have on your body, especially over long-term use. He's quoted saying, even low to moderate amounts of alcohol consumption can result in degeneration of our neural circuits, particularly those involved with planning, decision-making, and emotional regulation. His podcast on alcohol's effect has over 7 million views, and it's not a particularly rosy one. That message has clearly resonated with many, but he's not the only one. Many influencers have started promoting the benefits of quitting alcohol, and many prominent people have gone sober and given credit to this as the reason why. I wanted to take a deep dive in this video and figure out if it's all just propaganda or if it's real. And if it's real, how bad is alcohol actually? Today, alcohol can be found in most every culture around the world. You can find bars, liquor stores, and all in between. It's the world's most popular drug, and its popularity is nothing new. The roots of alcohol consumption can be traced back to Mesopotamia, one of the cradles of civilization, where beer was first brewed around 4000 BCE. Archaeological evidence, including tablets, shows that the Sumerians and the Babylonians consumed beer, which was often thicker and more nutritious than the beer we know today. This early form of beer was an integral part of daily life and even featured in religious rituals, indicating the revered role alcohol played in society from the outset. Following beer, wine became another crucial part of ancient cultures, particularly in the Mediterranean regions. The first evidence of wine production dates back to around 6000 BCE, which is now Georgia, the country in Asia, and it quickly spread to Egypt, Greece, and Rome. The Greeks in particular elevated wine to a cultural symbol, with Dionysus, the god of wine, embodying its celebratory and indulgent nature. The Roman Empire then expanded the cultivation of vineyards across Europe, helping to establish wine as a symbol of both sophistication and daily sustenance. The rise of liquor distillation, which gave rise to liquor, came around later, around the Middle Ages. Scholars in the Middle East were among the first to distill alcohol for medicinal purposes, and the technique eventually spread to Europe. By the 12th and 13th centuries, distilled spirits such as brandy and whiskey were being consumed widely, not only for medicinal purposes, but for enjoyment. Liquor offered a more potent form of alcohol, and by the time of the Age of Exploration, distilled beverages like rum and gin became crucial commodities in the global economy, often linked to colonialism and the transatlantic trade. Although there have been some societies without alcohol, such as many Native American communities in North America and many strict bans in modern Islamic states, they are the exception rather than the rule, and in the past 1,000 years, the majority of cultures around the world have had alcohol present. Recently, we can see lots of people turning away from alcohol. In fact, it looks to be that this next generation will be some of the most sober people of all time, from an alcohol perspective. Pretty much every drink company is trying to get in on the non-alcoholic drink trend, and many Gen Z people are staying away from drinking entirely. But anti-alcohol movements are nothing new. Concerns about excessive alcohol consumption can be traced back to ancient times. In Egypt, Greece, and Rome, there were periods when drunkenness was condemned, often associated with a moral decay or social disorder. In Islam, from the 7th century forward, the Islamic faith prohibited the consumption of alcohol, viewing it as harmful to the individual and community. The Quran explicitly mentions the avoidance of intoxicants as a path to righteousness. One of the most famous examples is the Prohibition era in the United States during the 1920s and early 19th. The 18th Amendment made the production, transportation, and sale of alcoholic beverages illegal. But what makes this period different, it stemmed more from concerns about than the Prohibition era, is Prohibition wasn't about the negative health effects of alcohol, domestic violence, crime, and the broader social harm alcohol was believed to cause. Back then, alcohol was seen as a moral problem that led to violence, poverty, and social breakdowns, especially in the family setting. People weren't necessarily necessarily talking about the internal psychological damage that alcohol causes to the individual. Talks about banning alcohol before always stem from domestic violence, harm to others, and not necessarily about the harm it actually does to you. Although everyone, since alcohol was invented, knows how bad it can feel during a hangover, it wasn't until recently that we actually started to discover the actual harm that alcohol does to the body. What's always known that alcohol can make you feel terrible, hangovers being the most obvious example of this, science and medicine have only just recently started to deeply explore and communicate the long-term psychological damage alcohol does to the body. It's been known for over 100 years that alcohol gets processed through the liver, and that can take a toll, leading to liver disease and chronic ailments. However, research has shown nowadays that it's much more than just the liver that alcohol affects. And the first pillar is sleep. Sleep is one of the most vital pillars of health, essential from everything from cognitive function to immune system strength. The recommendation of 8 hours of sleep is not just a number, it's based on decades of research showing that consistent quality sleep supports emotional regulation, memory consolidation, decision making, and even metabolic health. The importance of getting 8 hours of quality sleep cannot be overstated. Matthew Walker, in his groundbreaking book, Why We Sleep, details the devastating impact of insufficient sleep on both the mind and body. He writes, "The shorter you sleep, the shorter your life. Short sleep predicts all-cause mortality. Sleep is not just restorative, it is protective against chronic diseases. In fact, sleep deprivation is linked to an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, cognitive decline, and Alzheimer's disease, as well as poor emotional regulation and immune system damage." A big thing that makes this all so dangerous is that humans are incapable of feeling how actually sleep deprived they are and how it affects their cognition and parts of their body. While you can feel tired during the day, you have no sensory ability to understand how much your cognition has been negatively affected. According to the CDC, 1 in 3 adults in the US is not getting enough sleep. Factors such as work pressure, social media, and constant access to entertainment are often blamed in the rise of sleep disorders, but alcohol consumption remains a significant yet often overlooked contributor. Andrew Huberman said, "Alcohol severely disrupts sleep architecture. It blocks REM sleep, which is critical for emotional regulation, learning, and memory consolidation. Even one drink close to bedtime can dramatically impair sleep quality." Alcohol severely disrupts REM sleep, which is an abbreviation for rapid eye movement, which is a crucial stage for learning, memory, and emotional processing. REM sleep typically occurs later in the sleep cycle, and alcohol's sedative properties can reduce the duration and depth of this critical sleep stage. Studies show that alcohol delays the onset of REM and can result in REM rebound, where the body attempts to catch up on missed REM sleep in future nights, leading to fragmented sleep patterns. Alcohol also decreases the overall time spent in restorative deep sleep or slow wave sleep. While it may promote light sleep, it leads to frequent awakenings during the night as its sedative effects wear off. The fragmentation of sleep cycles leaves individuals feeling unrested even after a full night's sleep. Alcohol also affects the body's natural circadian rhythm by altering melatonin production, the hormone responsible for regulating sleep-wake cycles. A study published in Alcoholism, Clinical and Experimental Research found that alcohol consumption before bed reduced melatonin levels by up to 20%, further disrupting the timing and quality of sleep. It's been shown to increase wake events and overall make you feel terrible, which can lead to it being harder than usual to stay asleep at night. Alcohol has been shown to be an aid to get you to sleep in many instances, but it actively prevents you from staying asleep and getting the sleep that actually leads to recovery at efficient level. As noted here, sleep is one of the most important things to maintaining great health, and alcohol is an active detriment at almost every single level to getting quality sleep on a nightly basis, even starting at just one drink in a night. The next pillar is in brain damage and cognitive decline. One of the most concerning facts about alcohol is that it is quite literally a poison. The intoxicating effects of alcohol, feeling tipsy, buzzed, or even drunk, are the direct result of poisoning your brain and body. Ethanol, the type of alcohol found in drinks, is classified as a neurotoxin, meaning it directly damages nerve cells in your brain. Coming from Andrew Huberman, alcohol is a poison to your cells, particularly your neurons. The buzz you feel is not a harmless state of relaxation, it is the result of your body trying to cope with this poison. The key point is that long-term alcohol consumption leads to degeneration of brain structures, particularly those involved in planning, decision-making, and emotional regulation. Chronic alcohol use is neurotoxic to brain cells, leading to shrinkage of the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus, both of which are crucial for memory and decision-making. Even moderate drinking over time can accelerate cognitive decline. The third pillar is an increased level of anxiety and depression. In the Global Drug Survey, 50% of respondents worldwide cited that relaxation and stress was one of their primary reasons why they drank, which is a crazy statistic when we take a look at the actual effects that alcohol has on our stress levels. While alcohol might provide temporary relief from anxiety or stress, long-term use exacerbates these mental health issues. Huberman says that alcohol increases cortisol levels, the body's main stress hormone, especially during withdrawal periods, contributing to heightened feelings of anxiety and depression. Chronic alcohol use interferes with neurotransmitter systems like GABA and dopamine, which are critical for mood regulation, worsening mental health over time. So effects on sleep, brain damage, and cognitive decline through drinking a poison and long-term levels of stress are all not things that anyone would sign up for. And that's not to mention the effects on hormonal imbalances, as alcohol produces testosterone in both men and women, liver and metabolic damage, as well as many of the dangers of excessive drinking, such as blackouts, bodily damage, and further mental harm. But one of the craziest things to note comes from this Huberman quote, where he says that even low to moderate amounts of alcohol consumption can result in degeneration of neural circuits and negative effects of alcohol. Any more than 2 drinks per week is proven to start the negative effects of alcohol in all areas of your life. Before this, for many, the takeaway may be that they still enjoy alcohol in their lives and they hear these negative benefits and think that they need to reduce their consumption. But the truth is, unless you reduce your consumption to 2 drinks or less a week, alcohol is still wreaking havoc in many areas of your life. Research published in the BMJ found that individuals who consumed as little as 4 to 7 drinks per week had noticeable reductions in brain volume, particularly the hippocampus, the region responsible for memory and learning, and that even light drinking can subtly impair cognitive function over time. A 2018 study published in Sleep found that even moderate drinking impacts REM sleep by 9 to 24%, depending on how much consumed. Over time, this can lead to cumulative sleep deprivation, which affects emotional stability, cognitive function, and physical health, with the lowest sample being only 3 drinks in a week. A study in The Lancet concluded that consuming just 1 drink per day increases risk of cancer, particularly in women. And a 2019 study in alcoholism found that even moderate alcohol consumption, aka 2 to 6 drinks per week, was linked to an increased risk of developing symptoms for depression and anxiety. While many view light drinking, modern research increasingly suggests that there is no true safe level of alcohol consumption. Even 2 to 7 drinks per week is enough to cause significant disruptions to brain function, hormonal balance, sleep quality, and long-term health. Those effects might not be immediately noticeable, but over time they accumulate, affecting both physical and mental well-being. As someone who consumes a limited amount of alcohol on a weekly basis, this research is quite concerning. It makes me wonder why alcohol is so acceptable if it's proven to have so many bad effects on people's lives. The first answer would be, just because something is socially acceptable does not mean it's good for you. In 1964, the US Surgeon General's report titled Smoking and Health officially declared that smoking cigarettes was linked to lung cancer and other serious health problems. This report was a major turning point in the public awareness and the dangers of smoking, and was the first time the US government officially labeled smoking as a carcinogenic. Even with all this evidence, in the 70s, over 40% of adults admitted to smoking regularly. It wasn't until the 1990s where smoking started to become phased out, and in the year 2000 where it was banned from all domestic travel. The second point is that we already tried that. With the 18th Amendment, the US attempted to enter an era of prohibition and prohibit the sale of alcohol, but what they found is that people just opted for illicit measures to obtain it regardless of the laws in place. All that was lost was the government's ability to regulate it and all the tax revenue. The war on drugs is also thought of as a huge government waste, as it did little to curb the interest of drugs in the street and just caused people to seek more and more illicit methods of doing so. For many things, the answer isn't to ban, but to let people make their own choice. My goal with this video is not to convince you to never have a drink again in your life. It's simply to present the evidence that I see. And I see the evidence in this video, ponder over it, and still have the thought to myself that it's fun to have some drinks with friends. And in that same survey from earlier, 76% of respondents indicated that socializing and having fun was one of their primary reasons for consuming alcohol. In fact, it was the top reason of all. But is drinking alcohol actually fun though? Alex Becker put out a video a little over a year ago where he argues that alcohol is not actually fun, but by starting to drink it, it puts you in a jail cell and convinces you that you need it in order to break out and have fun. I would say that if I'm trading in good sleep, a healthy brain and cognition, a poisonless body, and low long-term stress, in addition to hangovers and everything that I pay for my drinks, I better be getting something great in return. Some people would argue that that trade-off is still well worth it, and I've found myself making that same argument before too. But Becker argues that alcohol actually gives you nothing at all. One of the most insidious ways alcohol traps people is by making them dependent on it for social interactions. In this jail cell, alcohol is not just something you drink for fun, it becomes your jailer that convinces you that you're incapable of socializing or having fun without it. The crux of the problem is that alcohol makes you believe that it's the key to unlocking your social abilities, when in reality, it's robbing you of the opportunity to naturally develop these skills. Many people start drinking in social settings when they're young, around ages 16 to 18, a time when they're still figuring figuring out how to navigate social dynamics. Instead of learning how to become confident, connect with others, and have fun on their own, alcohol becomes the shortcut. It makes you feel comfortable, less anxious, and more outgoing, but only when it's in your system. Over time, this reliance on alcohol as a social lubricant becomes deeply ingrained. You stop learning how to socialize without it, and before long, you begin to need alcohol to make friends, have fun, feel confident, be more outgoing. But what's really going on though is alcohol is preventing you from ever actually building these skills naturally. You'll become dependent on it to feel normal in social situations, and this creates a false sense of security. Instead of gaining confidence in your own abilities to socialize, you start to fear that without alcohol, you'll be awkward, unfun, or even unlikable. Alcohol tricks you into thinking it's enhancing your social life. When you're drinking, you feel more talkative, more open, and more relaxed around people, but this isn't a genuine connection. As the metaphor goes, you're not really connecting with people, you're just lowering your IQ and impairing your judgment to the point where anything, even boring conversations or people you wouldn't normally engage with, seem fun and interesting. Again, alcohol is a poison, a neurotoxin that is directly impacting your cognitive abilities. Worse, when you're sober, you may start to feel uncomfortable around these same people because you've never actually interacted with them in a natural, authentic state. Alcohol has become the gatekeeper to your social interactions, controlling you and how you feel connected with others. You feel isolated or socially crippled without it because your social muscles haven't been trained. The true tragedy of this cycle is that alcohol robs you of your chance to develop meaningful social skills. If you had spent that time you were drinking actually engaging with people sober, over time, you would naturally learn to feel confident in social situations, connect with people on a deeper level, enjoy social interactions without the need for alcohol. Without alcohol, socializing would become easier and more fulfilling because it's based on genuine interests, shared values, or activities, not just intoxication. But alcohol convinces you that you're in a social jail cell, and the only way to unlock the door is to poison yourself. The irony is the door was never locked. The ability to have fun, make friends, and connect with people was yours all along. You just never gave yourself the chance to experience it. Over time, this dependency can lead to missed opportunities for personal growth, meaningful relationships, and real enjoyment in life. You find yourself stuck in the same repetitive social situations, drinking at bars and parties, engaging in shallow conversations, and relying on alcohol to feel normal. This limits your potential to build a social circle based on shared interest, personal growth, or genuine connection. The key takeaway is that alcohol isn't giving you anything new. It's holding you back from discovering your own ability to socialize and enjoy life without it. It's the jailer that's tricked you into believing that you need it to unlock your potential, but the truth is you don't need it at all. I put a link down there to his video below because I think it's a very convincing argument. Making any meaningful lifestyle change takes time to process and to make a decision, and it's hard even for myself. But presented with the evidence, I have to include that alcohol is indeed as bad as we thought, if not even worse. Subscribe for more.